Okay, we're live.
Happy Thursday.
What's going on, guys? How's it going?
It doesn't feel like it's been a week since we've been here.
Dude, I was thinking about that earlier today. I was like, it has seemed like either a lifetime since we did this last week or it's felt like 2 days.
Both at the same time because we both have crazy lives right now.
Also, like I'm leaning more towards it's felt like a lifetime. Like so much has happened in the last 7 days that I'm like I can't believe that I have fit that into a
A
week.
lot of yapping between us and about us. It's fine.
So much yapping. Well, guys, we made it to episode 2. Only one more until we have nothing to talk about. But episode 1, we got a lot of really great feedback. What's up, guys? Really great feedback, and the best thing was that we had a lot of fun. So
We did. And
we're
for those
gonna
of
be
you
back.
that don't know, my name is really phonetic. It's May the month. And then Suh, exactly how it's spelled.
Mesa, in case anybody was confused.
Yeah, you know.
And my name's Kate, also, or Caitlin, whatever you'd like to call me. Um, but yeah, guys, episode 1 was we had a lot of fun, awesome comment section, love engaging with you guys. So hopefully today is gonna kind of go the same way. We got a pretty big topic um,
Yeah.
to talk about today, but just want to start with some housekeeping stuff. Mesa's gym is opening on Saturday. So she's been a little busy all week, kind of trying to
I
get scrambling.
literally arrived to this chair probably 90 seconds before we went live. It was very, you know, I don't like being late, but I wasn't, so it's fine.
That
Oh,
was when you
Tega
left.
saying, let's pin this comment. That was nice. I do look like I've been building a gym. I appreciate that though. My story of the day is so I ended up having a lot of extra flooring rolls. And if you know, they're insanely heavy. I don't know if you know, but they're like, I mean, a roll is like 700 pounds heavy. And because of some ADA regulation stuff, I had to change some of my flooring. So I loaded probably like 5,000 pounds of flooring into a trailer, attached it to my truck. It's the first time I drove a trailer. I nearly crashed it a few times. I delivered flooring all over Charleston. And my bumper may not be okay, but lots of people got new flooring for their garage gyms, and my gym is free of it. So we're one step closer to Saturday. It's been great.
We're just really rolling with the punches on that one for sure. It sounds like we
Yeah, like
also
if you've run a
normally,
gym, own a gym, you know these things happen.
yeah, normally Mason and I talk like on the phone at least 3 times a day, and we have not talked at all
I feel
today.
like I miss you. What's happening?
I text her, I was like, we go live today and we have not talked at all. And usually we're just kind of like shooting the
Just
shit, you
means we
know?
have a lot to talk about here. I'm not going to lie. I could not be nervous today because I was so busy, but leading into this episode, I have been kind of nervous, which I think is really funny. I'm just going to jump in. It's really funny that talking about CrossFit has become kin to talking about politics because it feels like I'm about to have a rough political conversation. Um,
Just to clarify today, because I think there is some confusion, we are not playing a game of hot or not talking about CrossFitters. We are talking about CrossFit currently being hot or not in terms of if kind of where we stand, if we like it, if we don't like it. There is obviously a very big divide in the community, it seems like, and it feels like you have to pick one side or the other. And so we're gonna talk about that today and kind of where we sit. When we were on last week, somebody asked about the open. So we know those questions are going to come, especially as the season happens and is evolving right now. So we are going to talk about kind of where we stand and if we think CrossFit is hot or not. So, yeah, do you want to start? Tell us where you're at with that, Mesa. Hot or not?
oof. Okay. I'm gonna just come out and say not to start with. But before everyone gets all up in arms, I think that the way I big picture view it, and we'll get into a little more detail about it, is that the things I love about CrossFit and have loved over the last decade of my life about CrossFit to me, CrossFit doesn't represent that anymore. What I love, the community, not even the methodology, but like obviously all the things that come with working in a gym, being in that community, being in classes, the amazing life changes. I don't think CrossFit, the brand, represents that anymore. And that's, to be honest, it's not like I'm out here being like, wow, WFP replaced anything. I just felt personally when I went there and watched that competition, it was a lot of the things I loved about this sport and about this community. But no, I'm not. I'm not in prison. My gym just has a brick wall in it because it's a warehouse. You can see my lovely sign. I think that it brought back a lot of the feels and things I used to love about CrossFit, and I used to love, and the reasons I built my whole life and career around this maybe company or lifestyle. And I just don't think CrossFit really represents that either, or anymore. That's my opening take. We will dive into more why, but do you want to hop in first?
This is gonna piss a lot of people off. Okay, I already know because they've been in the comment section, but
I will be giving lots of examples. Calm down.
I am more so on the fence, and for whatever reason, like that can also be a side. I really love CrossFit. Have done CrossFit since I think 2013. Signed up from a Groupon. I actually posted about this on my story a little while ago. But I don't think CrossFit is what we've known it to be in the past, which everything changes. And that's the thing. Like Hiller actually made a really good video the other day that I watched. And I think Dave even said it on the Boys Interrupted podcast that like, we have to change. That's just what happens. That's what happens in companies and in life. And sometimes we really hold on to what used to be in like the glory days. And I'm a fence rider, and that's fine. But I think there can be good and bad. And I feel like people have to choose between the WFP and CrossFit. And I don't think necessarily that's the case. I think it gives athletes the option of doing whatever it is that they want. And I think that's great to have options. Do I think that there are some things that need to be changed in CrossFit? Absolutely. But do I want CrossFit to die? Like I said last week, no. I hope that this divide, we can kind of mend it somehow and we get back together to what we love. And that's the community, whether that is the community in the sport or the community in the affiliate. And I do think it is more so the sport that is affected than the affiliates right now, but they are all under one umbrella. So definitely think there's opportunities to mend things and to improve them. And I don't think that's a bad thing. That's definitely not saying that I hate CrossFit. But I think, when we're on the subject of WFP, why not want something else that we can talk about, another avenue for athletes to take? I think it's cool to have more than one thing than only having one option.
So I mean, I think we have honestly we share some opinions and we don't share some opinions. And when you say, I have a few comments I want to respond to here, but when you say that you hope CrossFit continues and evolves and whatever gets better, if you ask me if that's what I want, I would say yes. If you ask me if I think that's going to happen, I would say no. And the reason being, I feel like, again, this is my opinion, and you can all be very upset about it. I think that every time CrossFit has given the opportunity to evolve or change for the better, it has taken a different route that has not benefited the community, the athletes. And I think that's the hard thing for me. I've loved CrossFit most of my adult life, but I'm losing hope. So if you're asking what I want and what I think, those are two different things, right? So me saying this, it's not because I'm like, I want CrossFit to die. It's because I don't think they're going to continue. It's going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. And as far as this, yes, you're right. WFP is majority of competition for elite athletes. When I say that, it's not that when I refer to the community, it's the people watching, the vibes, the vendors, the people I spoke to, the types of conversations that were taking place, the types of sponsors that were there are very different. And I think that's very obvious, whatever side you're on. One of the major sponsors of the CrossFit community is Border Patrol. It is a very military-esque side of sport, of whatever community you want to call it. I just think it's evolved and gone more in that direction, and that's not the CrossFit I fell in love with personally. So when I talk about the community, it's not like, oh yeah, yes, it's mostly for elite athletes, but it's the type of conversations, the energy, the people that were there. That's how I felt about that.
And to talk about this comment, how the RX athletes work out in the front of the gym and the skilled athletes have to work out behind a curtain. I think they heard that feedback. WFP heard that feedback, and I could be wrong, but I think I saw something about how they are going to change that for Tour Stop 2. And so taking feedback, making changes as they can. That was their first one, and we were both there. And I want to clarify, I was there as a volunteer, and I said that later in the episode. When I say I was working for WFP, I was there like actively working, but as a volunteer. It was a good event. Everybody was having fun. And we can argue about if fun is different than doing it to be the fittest on earth, sure, that can definitely be an argument, but like, how cool that the athletes have something fun that they get paid to do and they're not as stressed.
And I think, yeah, like people are like, give us the examples, for my opinion. And I think when I say that I feel like they're moving in the wrong direction, I do think a lot of CrossFit media is moving in the wrong direction for what I would personally hope any professional sport or high standard company would move in. And if the current CrossFit media appeals to you, then you are someone who likes the direction CrossFit is going in. And that's fine. I don't personally vibe with that rhetoric, narrative, all of that. And it's hard for me to sit here and listen to like super crass media and think that is a healthy direction for a sport that has had a lot of PR problems.
And that is kind of the divide, right? Like we talk about the divide in the sport, whether we want CrossFit to die or not to die. Those are two sides of the fence. And same with the media space right now. That's how it feels. I'm going to say as like an outsider, it's kind of scary. Talking about doing this podcast, we're both very passionate about the space, but we had to have some conversations to be like, you have to have some thick skin when you put yourself out there. And that is kind of scary. We want the environment to be accepting, like you would walk into an affiliate and everybody welcomes you. You would hope that the media space or anything that you do in the space would feel the same. And unfortunately it doesn't. Taylor says, you don't vibe, but your show is called Hot or Not. I'm confused. Hot or Not about CrossFit. So we covered this earlier in the episode. It literally says CrossFit, hot or not. So we're talking about if CrossFit is hot or not.
It's just a funny play on words. And I think that our show is also called In the Box Office. I think there's a huge difference, in my opinion. Again, we're saying our opinions. I don't think that I know everything, or I'm not claiming to have all the answers. You're right, Taylor. The things that happen on a lot of CrossFit media are not my vibe. The same way this might not be your vibe, and that's okay. And I think that I feel like there is a big difference between hot or not and some of the things that are in current media. And it's not about whether that current media is right or wrong. It's, in my personal opinion, not the direction CrossFit should be going in.
Just going to pin this comment. You guys are moving it faster than
I know.
Pin. I meant that going into affiliate is very welcoming, but coming into this space is definitely not welcoming. It is a little scary, but that is what both Mesa and I love, is the feel of affiliates, because I think that part is really good. But the rest of it definitely could use some improvement, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I was saying, that is with every company or organization. Some things can be flops. And then we just take the feedback and run with it. But it does seem like Mesa was saying earlier that CrossFit continues to say, like, we're going to change things, we're going to change. And we see a glimmer of hope that maybe we're going to start moving in the right direction. And sometimes those things flop, what they say that they're going to do, or it's just maybe not enough. And like, again, who are we to say, or really anybody in the chat, that it's not enough for us because we're not running it. But it does seem that we are constantly disappointed in the moves that HQ is making when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Okay. There's a lot of things firing off. I'm trying to keep up, and I know you're having questions. We will try to get to them all. Be specific about what you don't like and what you think CrossFit should do. I do have thick skin, and I'm fine if you guys don't want to hear me say words I will not say. That is fine. I think if you want me to be specific, I believe a lot of you talked earlier about how CrossFit's grassroots were in, Navy SEALs and all of that. And I think as the sport has evolved, it has leaned further into that. And I almost feel like it's become like the CrossFit Games are war and we should die. And then it happened and it was horrifying. And I think Chandler Smith made a really great post about it. I think there's a difference between obviously military and sport. And if they want it to be more military, then it shouldn't be a sport that is viewed. I think that when you look at industry standards for broadcasts for big events, they do not talk the way that broadcasts and CrossFit currently do. And if that's like a new mold or something that you want to go with, it's not appealing to the masses. If my mom were to get on and watch that, I think she would be like, I don't want to watch CrossFit. And I love CrossFit athletes. I'm opening a gym because it's literally changed my life. And I want most people to see that and feel good about it. And I think there is a large audience that will hear and see those things and be put off if they don't know much more about it. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I do. Oh my gosh. Hold on just a second. I'm so sorry.
You're so fine. The dogs want to make an appearance. And I know there's a lot of comments in here about the sport versus the community, and there is an overlap. We can say there's an overlap, and we can say the community benefits and affiliates benefit the sport, and the sport benefits the community. I'm not here to argue whether or not it's a sport. I think it's a sport. I want it to be a sport. That's why I'm excited about the direction of UFP trying to professionalize it. I think that it's hard to separate, right? If we want to say that the sport and the methodology and affiliates and the games are all different, then they need to be run by different companies. If they're all under the same umbrella, they all affect each other and they filter into each other. And we can't just be like, those are totally different, because it's not. And most CrossFit Games athletes are going to affiliates, are part of the community. It's not, you can't differentiate those two completely.
And the comment that she made about the CrossFit Games being compared to war, I don't think that came from her. Athletes have said that, especially I think after what happened last year. So if athletes are saying that, we're just kind of commenting on that. It definitely should not feel that way. And that is somewhere that Mesa and I differ, because we've had this conversation off camera. And CrossFit did start in the military and has a very, very deep-rooted background with the military. So I don't necessarily agree when we talk about that. Do I think people should die? Absolutely not, or fear for their life. But that is kind of how we started and where we come from. And I like having deep roots to something. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but that is where we differ.
For sure. Look at us having a conversation with differing views and not hating each other. This is fine. Again, the same way our podcast might not be your vibe, I think certain aspects of yours are not my vibe. And I would not say that we're more mainstream or you're more mainstream. I think there's industry standards. And I think that, again, maybe your goal is not to professionalize the sport, but my goal in this space would be to make it more professional. I think that's an important thing. I think it's, to me, this like functional fitness, CrossFit, whatever, it's so life-changing. I believe in it so wholeheartedly. I see it every single day the same way you do. And professionalizing that aspect is a no-brainer to me because it appeals to more people. Why would we not want it to be something that would be expanded, go further, and benefit more people?
And that's what I think too. Like, all of us are on this podcast, Mesa and I and everybody in the comments, because we do love CrossFit and the sport. So if there was a way, and a lot of you guys are content creators, why would we not want opportunities to make money from something that we love? Why would we not want the athletes to make more money? Why wouldn't we be able, like, want to quit our full-time jobs to be able to do this? Like, that is like a dream of mine. So in my eyes, professionalizing the sports means that there's more opportunities for us as well. And I truly do not understand why we wouldn't want that. Is it possible for us to professionalize? I have no idea. I don't know what that would take. But when I say that that's what I would like, I think that would be better for everybody that is in here.
100%. Like, I think whether or not that's the goal of certain things, I think almost everyone would agree that, and maybe I would think almost everyone would agree that professionalizing the sport, bringing it to more people, having it be an easier thing to follow, to understand, to grasp is a good thing, right?
No, I agree. And talking about the WFP, everybody keeps talking about like finances. Not really any of our business, unless we work for them in some part, and even then probably not. But like, also, who cares if it's around for a year, if it's around for 5 years, if it's around for 10? Like, right now it's something for all of us to do and to talk about and to compete in, and I think it's good to have another avenue. But everybody is just so caught up in why it shouldn't be a thing and that it's not going to be sustainable, and that's not really any of our business. And I think we should be happy it's here and to see people compete. I don't know. I don't understand why everybody is so upset by it. To me, it's not a big deal. And if you guys don't like it that much and it doesn't succeed, then you guys should be happy. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm trying to keep up. There's a lot of things going on. And this is a big conversation. We're going to have to get into a lot of details. Here's the thing. Yes, if you are in the public eye, you're going to get criticized. That is part of the job. I will say that the system behind CrossFit is so confusing, forever changing. The fact that they allow, like, no other sport is allowing fans to decide which people should be penalized. The system opens it up for a lot more criticism, and the lack of, you say you're not mainstream, all this, so the lack of standards around media open the criticism up to being, I think, a lot more crass, more, I don't know if I want to say irrational, but like targeted in like broadcasts, in the quote unquote professional media. It's not like this is a hidden behind of nobody on Instagram talking smack. It's like on the broadcast, on interviews, is allowing that kind of criticism. So sure, you can say they're too soft, but I also think if you look at other sports, like, they're not getting the same type of criticism, those athletes, that these athletes are. And the system is more standardized, so it doesn't open up so many avenues for this.
I mean, again, like, I hope that's the case. And I think that we should all hope that that is the case, because I think that's great for us. Again, I don't know how that would work. I don't know what it means. I don't know, like, the business side behind it. But for all of us, I think that would be great. And I don't know why we wouldn't want it. So the more opportunities that we can explore, and, if WFP is going to take the financial hit and try to see how that could work, and CrossFit doesn't have to pay for that and sacrifice that money, then, and they fail, then that's fine. And at least we tried it. I know, Grid did the same thing years and years ago, and now it's kind of making a comeback. And I know people hate on Grid, but maybe not in the same that they do. Definitely not the same as WFP, I don't think. So I don't know. I don't know the answers.
So we do want to talk a little bit about Tyler Watkins anyways, right? But we can,
yeah. So we got started really early on the topic, but I actually did want to give a shout out, and I posted it on my own personal Instagram. I listened to the Spin last week, and they were talking about NorCal Classic, and I gave Tyler a shout out because I really enjoyed his take, or his rant, whatever you want to call it, about the NorCal Classic. And I think it was a really productive conversation about holding people accountable where the standards aren't met. And, he even said, like, no hate to the organizers of the event, no hate to Dave, but like, we have to do better. And that is definitely the kind of conversation that I would rather see. It did not seem like everybody, while yes, he was pointing fingers, but it was all constructive criticism, and it didn't come from hate. And I actually really appreciated that, and I enjoyed the episode a lot. So
yeah, I went and watched it after you called me and told me to watch it. And I think those are the types of conversations that I respect and I think are great. Obviously, by the way, you're getting called hot in the comments a lot, if that makes up for anything. I think this is a tough question, right? Standards around media. I think on a base level, talking about women's bodies while they're competing, talking like saying a lot of foul language, having a lot of sexual remarks. Those are things that I imagine are in contracts of professional broadcasts that like you cannot say. And I would assume these contracts don't exist in this space. And again, CrossFit, as long as it's been around, is new in the grand scheme of things compared to like NBA or NFL or all these things. But those are the standards I would think would be in place. I don't think there's like a clear definition of that.
yeah, and you know, if we talk about professionalizing, Caleb says standards around the media sound like a violation of the First Amendment. You don't get on ESPN and hear people cursing or talking about buttholes. It just is not going to happen. And we might not be there yet, but for people to take us seriously, I don't think those kind of conversations need to happen on a broadcast, no matter if we're CrossFit, no matter what the vibe is of the competition, whether it's CrossFit affiliated or not. If people want to talk about that on that podcast, fair game. Do I want to listen to it? Probably not, but there's people that do, and that's fine. And that's the beauty of having the platforms on this space to talk about whatever we want. But when we talk about something like a live broadcast that we want people to tune into to build our sport or the competition, whatever it is you want to call it, I just don't think that's appropriate. And there's going to be people who disagree, and that, again, like, we don't all have to be on the same side. This is just my take, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that if we are honest, no matter what side you stand on, our sport isn't at a professional level yet. The sport that we love, the people that we love, it doesn't match other professional sports in so many different ways. Media is one of them, and that's what we're talking about. I think if you look at the season, it's very difficult to follow. I talked about this a little bit last episode. I was about to say last year. I love sports. I watch NFL. I watch March Madness. I think there's such a powerful thing about sports bringing people together. I think it's such a fun thing. And I like, for a lot of my, PT student friends or people that I did not meet through the CrossFit world, I would love for them to understand how cool this is. And it's really hard. It's really hard to even begin to explain what it looks like. And that's why I think I was excited about the WFP, because I could explain it pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it looks like. This is what the season looks like. This is what you can do in your gym that's kind of similar but not the same. And like, I do feel like there was a time CrossFit was like that and has gotten a little bit convoluted. And I think that's the same like with all sports, right? Like, I grew up playing soccer, so it's fun to watch the epitome of like world championship, all of that. Like the World Cup, it's fun. So people who do CrossFit in gyms want to be able to watch it and share that.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. And that's too, like, we talk about the CrossFit season this year, and a lot of everybody in the comments is talking about it on their podcast as well. We were upset that WFP was giving the athletes another chance to compete, and they say it's too much, but yet we have athletes flying across the world and competing back to back to back to back every weekend. So I don't think it's fair to just say that it's WFP's fault if the athletes are tired by the time they get to the games, if they even get there, because some of them have competed at 3-4 semifinals this year, and it's been a lot of competing in general. But again, like, they have the choice to do that. They didn't have to do both, and they didn't have to choose to go to multiple semifinals either.
is this more confusing than the season to qualify for the games this year? Truly, like, I, I think that's I can't I I can't I
I
can't explain the WFP season pretty concisely. I don't think that's the point here. I think there's nothing like let's talk about the CrossFit season, because I am someone who's pretty involved in what, like, I know the athletes, I know what's going on, I keep up with it all, I watch a lot of podcasts, I do all these things, and it was hard for me to follow. It was hard for me to understand the many routes in which an athlete could qualify for the games, as someone who literally wanted to know and wanted to watch it all and wanted to understand.
Yeah, and I also kind of agree that WFP can be confusing. I think I was even there, and like, to my own fault, I didn't do my own research. I like knew that there's 3 tour stops, and aside from that, I was asking Mason, I'm like, so what happens now? But to my own fault, because I didn't research it. The information is out there, but at the same time, the CrossFit semifinals, up until it started, I was like, I don't even know, like, how many people are qualifying. Can this person go to a different one outside of their qualifying region or whatever it is we had in the past, because it changes every year. So that part is definitely hard to keep up with too. And that's why I say that I'm on the fence, is because there's good and bad to all of it, and I don't think that you have to pick a side and say, this is the side I stand on, and that the other side also can't offer good things as well.
And while I feel like I'm less on the fence than you, I think that it's wild that we have gotten to a point where it's like, you have to be hardcore, you support everything CrossFit does, or bust. Like, that's wild. And I think that we should be able to have the conversation where, again, I have grown up my adult life in CrossFit gyms. I absolutely have loved the ways in which it has impacted my life, so many people around me. There's nothing more I like to do than watch CrossFit documentaries, and it's not like I'm sitting here being like, hey, screw CrossFit. I think that it's okay over time to not understand how the company's evolved, to be unsure, to not be able to support it. I think that is normal with a lot of different things. And I think that mocking people for being on the fence is literally the problem. We're raising the barrier to people moving and to enjoying movement by forcing them to pick sides.
Yeah, and these nuts, I hate saying that name, but I'm gonna call you by whatever it is on there. Games info is all out there too if you research. I said that, like, I could have done my research for sure, but it'd be a hell of a lot easier if we just followed the same structure every year, or like didn't. And it's not even small changes; it's huge changes every year that it's different. So yes, could have done my research on both of them for sure. And I was a little more, once Mayhem Classic started, I was like really in it, watched the whole thing from front to back, made my parents watch it with me because they were here. And as the season went on, or semifinals went on, I watched less and less, because there was so many inconsistencies, and everything was just different as opposed to everything being the same, if you will. I just kind of lost interest. It was the same thing, the different athletes, the same, everybody's talking about already. But it's just, there's a lot to keep up on, and I don't want to have to research every season or every competition to see what the rules and regulations and qualifying specifications are.
Yeah, I also think this is literally minute 1 of WF. They've had one event. It should be still something people don't know. CrossFit has had the games for how many years? I should be able to understand the season at this point. And I did do my research, and I did figure it out. That wasn't the point. I watched all the semifinals. And I love it. Again, I love watching CrossFit, but I think that it is difficult to follow. There is some hot take-ish comments. Are we ready to get there, or do we need a little more time?
No, yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna show this one for you.
So this was actually going to be my hot take this week, guys. And
I'm so ready to debate you.
Knew this was going to come up, and this, again, depending on what side you are, but I think Dave is innocent until proven guilty. And I really just say that because I know nothing about what happened behind closed doors. We have no investigation report. I don't know anything so for me to blame someone for something so serious, I don't think is fair. If things ever come out about what happened at the games and he is guilty and had a hand in it, then by all means that's fine. But I have been in leadership positions my entire career, like adult career, and and I have had to say and do a lot of things that I don't agree with because the company, the C-suite employees, legal is telling me to do something, and I have had to relay that message or I don't have a job. And I think sometimes we forget that and we say, well, Dave is the director. He can do whatever he wants. And if there's a legal investigation, I'm sorry, but you can't do that. And I know that sucks to hear for some people because we all want answers. But I don't, if I was in his position, and I have been, like, not with that situation, but in general, like, I know what it feels like to have the finger pointed at me. It's like, I'm just relaying the message or else I don't have a job and I want a job because I have bills to pay or whatever the case is. And I don't think that's fair. But again, like, if things come out, nobody sat in those meetings. We have no idea what happened. Unless you do, then that's fine to feel that way. But I don't think, I think he is innocent until proven guilty. So that's my hot take. I bet you guys didn't expect that one. So you're welcome.
So I'm trying to think how I want to respond to this. Let me preface my response with, I don't think Dave was fully responsible or maybe at all responsible for this. I don't know, right? There's no way of me knowing. I don't think removing him from the position he's in should be like connected to whether or not he's guilty. The fact of the matter is he was, I'm going to get hate for this. Okay, so let me explain. So he was in charge of an event in which a tragedy happened. In any other industry, company, even especially the military, which he has a background in, if there was a death, someone would have to step down or hold some sort of accountability. And I think the point is that there was no humility or accountability saying, hey, we understand this was a horrible thing that happened. Change is being made. So there has to be some change in leadership because this happened under this leadership. Even if it wasn't directly his fault, he was in charge of whoever's fault it was, right? And I think in order to show that that was taken seriously, there needed to be a point where he stepped down, where he spoke about it publicly. And maybe, yes, I understand the lawsuit, that was different, but I think him stepping down or changing roles would show, like, we know this was not okay and something has to change. And I think that was the point.
But if you were in his position and it was not your fault, you would still step down?
Someone died, 100%, I think. And I also think, even if it wasn't directly my fault, if I'm the director of the event in which it happened at, it is. If you're a director of a team and your team member does something wrong, are you not partially accountable for that, regardless if it was you? They work under you.
Not necessarily. I think it just depends. And, like, there are so many factors, like, we hear all of the rumors about, like, well, the budget was cut. And so instead of, sacrificing the tests, he sacrificed the safety. Like, we have no idea. We have
sure.
no
and
idea.
I'm not sitting here pretending to know, right? And for all I know, he had no idea, right? Like, I don't think that. I just think that when something of that magnitude, like an athlete dying, happens, you have to do something. You can't do nothing. And in my opinion, it was just like, if we wait long enough, it'll move on. And I don't think that was an appropriate response. And so I'm not sitting here like, oh, I hate Dave Castro. I just think that there had to be some sort of action. And I think athletes who are in the space, who have been in the space for a long time, wanted to see that. And there's a lot of things about, like, so we need to blame someone. And it's not about blame. It's about showing that when something happens like that, change has to take place. and there's no visible change.
And I think, like, I will agree that, you know, it seems like nothing has changed. And I think that's why we're still talking about this subject even almost a year later, is that we hope something of this magnitude would elicit some sort of change for whether it's safety or just how the companies run. I mean, we hear gripes and complaints all the time. Everybody talks about them on all these podcasts and on social media. And it seems like they're like, okay, we're finally going to do something. We're going to do this. And then whatever it is not good enough. And is that fair for us to say? Probably not, but it seems like we're waiting for some really big change to like believe in the company. And this is what Hiller's video was about yesterday, is like, or I think it was yesterday, the magic. And we're waiting for that magic to happen again. And I feel like it's like a sprinkle of it, but it's not there like it needs to be. But I do think Dave is the personality of the sport, or of the games. And I love that. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. I like him a lot. And again, like, unless I'm given like actual facts to believe that he should not be, then I'll flip, but I don't think that's fair to say without all the facts. And I don't know if we'll ever get them. And that is kind of what sucks, is, we were promised something too, and we never got them. So.
And I think also, like, people are saying, like, just do something to do something. And like, no, we're talking about a very serious, tough topic. This is not do something to do something. This is do something because somebody died, and we don't want that to ever happen again. That's the point. And I think we're not talking about some little silly accident or event not playing out the way we want. So it's not just do something to do something. It's do something for important changes. And I think, again, this is not my hot take, but it is a hot take. I think this was a culmination of a lot of things going wrong over a long period of time. Sure. And I think that this was just the one that we could no longer ignore, right? Because you, me, probably most athletes, probably most affiliate owners, all these things have had concerns, right, about all kinds of things in CrossFit, as PR, as media, as safety, that have been voiced time and time again. And I think that because we love the magic of it so much, we've been willing to take the good with the bad. And then the bad got bad enough that we were like, we can't do this anymore, or something has to give. And everyone's like, oh, like, you're turning your back. And I'm like, no, I think that's a line in the sand, and things have to be different after that.
Yeah. And kind of why we're on this subject, because I know it has come up about the Open. And I'm going to try not to get on a soapbox about it, because I do feel very passionate about that.
We both have very different stories about this, and I'm ready.
So I started CrossFit, like I said earlier, in 2013. I signed up in 2018, I believe. And it could have been before they had a scaled option. I can't remember. I think I did 2 workouts when there was 5, and there was probably a movement that I couldn't do, so I didn't finish it. And then I signed up for real for the first time last year. My fitness level was the best it had ever been, and I really wanted to see where I stacked up against everybody else, and decided not to do it this year. And honestly, really had nothing to do with what we just talked about, what happened at the games. I hadn't done it for 10 years. I had done it one time, and I just didn't feel the need to. I had a lot of stuff personally going on in my life at the beginning of this year, and that just wasn't my priority. And I actually I was leaning towards no, but I was on the fence, but I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. And I listened to an episode of The Spin, and they were like, if you hate CrossFit, why would you actively do things to prevent it from succeeding, essentially, is what it said.
If you love CrossFit, you mean?
Yeah. What did I say? Hate?
Yeah.
Okay. No, sorry. If you love CrossFit, why would you do things to like make sure it doesn't succeed? And I was like, you know what? That's actually a really good take. I do love CrossFit. I want it to succeed, so maybe I should do it. And then after having some conversations with people, I realized that it is not my responsibility to make sure that CrossFit is in good financial standing, and that I should myself pay the money, and I should get all of my members to pay the money to participate in CrossFit so it succeeds financially, because that really, like, that's a large part of it. I know it's the community. I love like the community aspect of the Open, but it's also not our responsibility to make sure CrossFit stays afloat, right? But my job, loving CrossFit and as a coach, I need to get as many people as possible to believe in CrossFit and why it's going to change their life forever. That's why I've stayed. I know I've made that impact on people's lives. That is how CrossFit stays alive, is staying in the affiliate. So the affiliates stay open. They can pay their affiliate fees. So hopefully they get bought in and they love the sport so much that they spend their money to go to the games. Like, that is where I can help make sure that CrossFit grows. And you can say all you want that it's for paying that $20 in the open. I want everybody to still participate, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to pay, right? So that doesn't mean that I hate CrossFit, because I've only done it once. But this year I just decided just had a lot going on, and I didn't really need to, and I could make an impact elsewhere. And I think I did that. So I hate that narrative that you have to pick one or the other. It's either you've done the open and you love CrossFit, or you don't do it and you hate it. That's just not true. And if anybody tries to tell you differently, that is like a hill that I'm willing to die on. Anyway.
My story of the open is very different, but I do 100% agree. Like, I am a physical therapist. I believe movement is medicine. And I think it is the best thing we can do is continue to spread that message, right? Get more people changing their lives on a daily basis, moving. And I think that is our job. That's how we spread the word, right? For me, I don't know where the notion that I haven't done the open is from, because I have done the open every single year that I have done CrossFit since 2017, I believe, besides this last year. And my reasoning is different, but you can look it up. I've done the open 7-8 since 2017, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, like 8 years, 7 or 8 years. Last year, I chose not to do it. And my reason was, I think I was personally unhappy with the state of CrossFit. I was unhappy with the way things were dealt with. I think as an as a person that doesn't, like, I don't have power or influence. I'm not in the room making decisions. The only thing I can do to stick up for my personal values is decide where I spend my money. I think as someone on the outside, I can scream into the void of Instagram. It's not going to do anything, right? I can have conversations, try to change people's minds. It's probably not going to happen. Personally, I think the way I spend my money shows what I support and what I stand for. And this last year, I just didn't stand for what CrossFit was doing. So I decided not to do the open. But I have done it for 7 or 8 years in a row, and I loved it. And I think we're allowed to evolve, and we're allowed to change our opinions on things. And I hope, again, I don't have a lot of hope, but if you ask me what I hope for, it's that we get back to that magic that I loved, and that it is a company that I feel comfortable supporting and spending my money on.
And I think a lot of athletes felt the same too from the posts that they've made on social media. And like, I did have a hard time with it, because I was angry, when that happened. I was at the games, I was making posts, I was really upset. And I was like, I feel like I am helping a company that is not being held accountable. So I did have a really tough time with it. And like I said, that's not why I didn't do it. At the end of the day, like, the spin almost convinced me to do it, because I'm like, everything that they were saying was right. And then I just kind of, through some conversations, figured that I could help make it succeed other ways.
Is it time for my hot take?
Yeah, go ahead. Perfect time.
So my hot take is a little analogy. I think that in this divisive world we are in, the people who are, I would just say, extremely hardcore CrossFit HQ or whatever, a common argument I've seen on the internet is that for athletes and for affiliate owners, CrossFit as a company has created their careers, right? CrossFit is what's made them a lot of money, what's made them successful, what's made them famous, what's opened their gym. And now they're turning their back on the thing that made them all this money. And that's not okay. Like, right, you're supposed to, all of the sudden you can leave, and they shouldn't be doing that. And I've seen this argument a lot, like, now when it's convenient for you kind of thing, like, you'll leave, but you've already made all this money. And my analogy for that, for my hot take, is if I was married to a great man and we had kids and we built a home together and he provided for me, and then he went out and had an affair, would people be telling me, well, you can't leave because he did all these great things for you in the past? And I think that's just like a really point blank way of looking at, it's okay to no longer stand for something, because that doesn't mean that you're not grateful for things. It doesn't mean that I'm not grateful. CrossFit has opened my world to so many things, right? CrossFit has changed. Oh, they're going off on me, but CrossFit has changed my life in so many ways, and I'm so thankful and grateful that I was introduced to it. But I think I'm allowed to, at some point, create space with my loyalty to the brand until it evolves in a different way, right?
And that's the beauty of it. You can always change your mind. And people will clip this to say, Mesa used to hate CrossFit. And 6 months from now, you can say, I love it so much now. And people are going to be upset. You are free to change your mind to feel however you want, which is the beauty
And
of it.
for what it's worth, like I know for myself and for you, like I'll always be honest about the reasons my opinion has changed or where it's coming from at that moment. And it's not fickle. I think I've built my clips just in case. I've built my whole career and life around this community, this sport, this methodology. And so this isn't just a casual, like flippant opinion for me. It was tough. And I genuinely remember being sad not doing the open because I've done it for 8 years and it's something I love. And it felt like, damn, this feels wrong that we're in a state where it's just such a tough choice. So it's not like I'm like, oh, yep, today I hate it, tomorrow I don't. These are like things that I genuinely care about, and I'm making these decisions with a lot of thought put behind them.
Yeah, and we had a few conversations before we had this episode. I actually called Mesa.
One
I was
person
like,
doesn't hate me anymore. Sorry.
I called Mesa and I was like, hey, I think we need to have this conversation and we need to do it sooner rather than later because people were asking in the comments about the open and our thoughts. And this can also be a really scary conversation because we're never going to agree. And I think the thing that we did agree on is just being open and honest. And if we change our minds, we're going to let you know. And you'll know the hills that we're going to die on as well. And if we flip flop on that, even like, call us on it and we'll explain it. But we're not here to like, I don't want to say sugarcoat things because I don't think that's the right term, but to try to hide how we feel. Like we wanted to have this podcast so we could openly talk just like we would be on the phone, open and honest conversations on the phone, but now we get to do it online and chat with you guys as well. So, you want to, let's do, flip-flopping is not bad. I agree. And I think, again, I think it's a great thing. Let's just touch on this really quick and then we're going to get out of here so we don't make this a 2-hour podcast.
I spoke about this briefly on the last episode. I am a WFP gym. I am going to be doing my group. I do individual programming for a lot of my clients, but my group class is going to be Brute affiliate programming. Again, I think you can have the best of both worlds. The reason I'm affiliating with WFP is I made some really good relationships with specifically like Maggie, one of the women who owns it, and I just really resonated with her. We had some really good conversations about the community and what they want to do, and so that's where I'm going. But my gym is a 24/7 functional fitness gym that offers group classes, that offers individualized programming. It's a space for everyone. I think questions like these that are going to, try to trap me into something, like they don't. I'm not really concerned about, I don't think slapping either affiliate on my gym changes a whole lot of how I'm going to run it.
But the foundation is still the same, right? Like you want to open a gym to get people in your community healthier, happier, make connections and build that community. You don't have to be a CrossFit affiliate to do that. The foundation is the same. The goal is the same as everybody else who owns a gym or coaches, whether it's an affiliate or not. And I think that's the most important thing. Again, like we all have the same agenda, right? Everybody who's in this chat and everybody who's watching this has some sort of interest, and we can call it functional fitness. We can call it CrossFit, whatever we want, but like our goal is all the same, and it's to make people healthier, happier, live a longer life, and like maybe enjoy watching it, make some money if we can, in a sport if it succeeds. So I think sometimes we lose sight of that and get caught up in all the BS that goes on online. So
yeah, I mean, just the last thing, if you follow me at IBXPT, my gym and physical therapy Instagram, I posted kind of a vulnerable reel. I sent it to Kate and she told me I had to post it of me. I've been building out my gym for the last, couple weeks, months, whatever. And I did my first lift in it. And I put a video on to film, just like my first lift in the gym. And I racked it and I immediately started crying. And it was just like, I am so excited to have this space to bring people in and to hopefully change lives and to be the space that so many gyms affiliates have been for me. And I think when you see that, I hope you know that regardless of this whole divisiveness, like we're all on the same team, right? Like this is my dream. This is the stuff we all love every single day. I hope you can see that and understand like that's where my heart is.
Yeah. I think a lot of us can agree or agree to disagree, I guess, on that. But we should all be on the same page about that at least. All right, guys. Well, we have hit almost the hour mark. So we will be back next week, Thursday at 7 p.m., same time, same place.
Please like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this, we will have more hot takes coming for you next week. Hopefully we can, have enough depth to continue past our second or third episode.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys coming. Appreciated the convo. We'll see what happens in the coming days, but we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.